Okay. Hello, 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 hello. We are live. Now, I just ran a test stream a little while ago, so I know this is working, and the audio is working, and everything like that. So great. So I'm just going to do a fun little stream today. I'm going to talk about film cameras. I got one in my hand right here. And this is one of my favorite film cameras. This is a Nikon FE2 silver, which was pretty common. The blacks were more rare back then, and now everything's black. But that's just the way it is, I guess, right? So this is a 35 millimeter film camera for those that don't know. And what that means is that it takes 35 millimeter film. Now, what is 35 millimeter film? Well, excuse me for 1 second. Oh. 35 millimeter film is probably the film you're most used to, which looks like this. It has a little leader on it that you would load into your film. Now, this is a portrait color film. I just purchased this because I want to try color film out again. I haven't shot color film in a while. Mostly just been doing black and white. I can actually process black and white myself, which is fine. And color's a little harder to get done here. We don't have a place in town that does it. We don't even have a place really anywhere near locally that does it. So it's just the way it is. Anyway, so what can I say about this camera? Well, solid metal design, nice chrome finish. It goes up to 4,000ths of a second, which is really good if you're into fast shutter speed stuff. And it'll take up to 3200 speed ISO film on the light meter, which is very good because that's well, I wouldn't say a super modern film, but more modern than some of the ones that I have. It's also got its auto settings and things like that. The light meter works and everything like that on this. So when you would open it, this one has a lock on it. You just pull up on the tab there, and the door pops open. And there's the inside of your camera where you load your film. And you would just pull it over, wind it until you get it loaded, and then shut the door. And, well, you'd pop that down first, but you know what I mean. Anyway, and your counter would be set at 1 again. You'd be ready to go. Okay, so what else I got here? Here's another 35 millimeter camera that I like to use. This is an Olympus. This is the OM1. OM1. This is a slightly, it's not a newer camera. This one, as you can see, if I can get it to focus here, only goes up 1600 ISO, which means it's a little bit older, or they just didn't have the light meter capacity. Now, I have an old Kino precision lens on this. I do have Olympus lenses. I just like this one because it's 28 millimeter. It's a little wider. And the cool thing about this one is, although it's got a light meter in here, which I can turn on, which doesn't want to turn on right now. Oh, that's probably why. There we go. Anyway. I'll set it a little lower. Yeah, so it's definitely working. I just wanted to make sure. Focus is manual, of course, on all of these, which is fine. But what's really cool about this, I'm just going to click the shutter there, is you might notice this strange L bracket thing. It's not just a handle. This thing actually has its own batteries in it, AA batteries. And what this does, when you turn it on down here, this actually auto fires the camera. So you can hear that it's winding it. And the cool thing about this is you can put it on sequence mode, which is pretty standard on all cameras now. It's also called continuous shooting. That's pretty cool, eh? Yeah, yeah. This is the only film camera I have that has an auto winder on it, and it's good for that. If you want to do like fast stuff, this is also a very nice solid metal body. Not much can go wrong with it. Also, I apologize. I keep looking down here at the chat window, or the not the chat window, but the video screen instead of looking at the camera, which is where I should be looking. But I can't help it. I keep looking at the screen, and I apologize for that. So that's another camera that I like. Another one I've been shooting with is this Pentax KX, which I just recently started shooting with. Now I have a K1000, which is what people probably know more readily, and I've got that down here too. I'll bring that out in a minute. The KX was a nice. It's not exactly like as advanced, I don't think, as the K1000, but it was a nice addition to the Pentax line. And I've been shooting a lot more Pentax lately because this one does go to 3200 speed, so it must have been a little bit newer than the K1000 that I have. Just doesn't have a super fast shutter speed. It only goes to 1000 ISO. But yeah, I like the real nice clunk that these things have. Anyway, this was more just like a beater camera sort of thing, which a lot of the Pentexes were. They could take a lot of abuse, which was always nice. So I used this one mostly when I'm going on a trip, and I don't care if I drop it or anything. Well, I do care, but as you can see, same 35 millimeter. Pretty cool. Let's see what else we got here. Now, I'm just going to open up this bag here. Now this is my other standard camera. This is the K1000. Same sort of settings as the other guy. A little bit different. These cameras were around forever. They made probably 6 or 7 different models of these over the years. This one, I think, just judging by the serial number and stuff like that, probably 80s, 70s, in around there. I don't have the time to look it up or anything right now, but yeah. Again, I just love the Pentax clunk. Yeah. And these are really good beater cameras. You can find a lot of these because a lot of people bought these Pentax cameras way back. And one reason why I love Pentax so much, and the one reason a lot of people love Pentax so much, is all of these K-mount lenses, which is their, standard bayonet mount, will work on all of the digital cameras, which is really cool. So you could use these manual lenses on the digital cameras. And I always thought that was the neatest feature about Pentax, and that's why I've started buying into them more. And there was also, a mount before this which screwed onto the camera. I have some of those, but I don't have them readily out at the moment. And you could buy an adapter in which you could screw the lens into the adapter and then snap it on the bayonet. So you can literally use every single Pentax lens ever made. And that's why these cameras are great. And they're well built. Can't really complain about that. Now, the one I've been using a lot is a recent recent as in a year or so. And this is a Nikon, and this is an F801. I was looking at the reverse screen. Anyway, this is a cool dude. This is autofocus. Yeah. It's got all the sort of modern dials and stuff like that, but it is a film camera. I've got a eye cup on the back so I can, too close. Oh, still too close. I got a 50 millimeter lens on here, so there we go. All right, just needed to focus on something that had a little bit of writing or text on it. Anyway, it's a cool little clunk, eh? Anyway, This lens is actually newer, so it will take some of the newer F-mount lenses, but not a lot of them. Anyway, they've made this 50 mil lens for years. These guys were from about the 90s. They're, you know, a fairly good advanced camera, autofocus and auto advance. So when I loaded the film, I don't think I can open this right now because the iCup's blocking it. But when you load the film in these, you just pull it over and it goes and it auto loads it. A lot of their cameras from the 90s and early 2000s did that. Super cool though. Really easy to use, and it's, you know, just, even though it's, you know, more plastic, it's still a solid rig. Anyway, let's get into something really neat. So those were my 35 millimeters. I'm going to take a look at a couple of my medium format ones, because those are really cool. Now, going way the hell back, this is a Brownie number 2 from Kodak. You can see written on the back here, Brownie number 2. And these were what they used to call just a box camera, basically. So you'd load your film, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then you'd literally go, see the shutter opening? You just go back and forth on the shutter. That's the shutter motion on it. It's all manual. And of course, then you would advance your film like so. And normally, you'd look through this little hole in the back, and that would show you the film number. Now, I have them taped over because the red filter that they use on that doesn't exactly compute to modern film anymore. So it will fog the film if you have that open. Now, to load the film in, there's a little lock at the top. You pop the back off, put that down. You pull out on the winder like so. So it's sticking out. And then the whole inside comes out. And see my finished roll up here. These are what the 120 reels look like. Just going to leave that up there so I remember which side it's on. And, oh, look, I got 2 in here. Ha! Normally you just have 1 left over because 1 reel goes on to... 1 reel has the film in it, and it loads into the other reel. Then you take that reel in with the film on it to get it processed. Oops, I dropped the reel. Excuse me. That's an original metal reel. Probably came with it. Nowadays, they are plastic. And when you buy the film, just stick that down there, it looks like this. Comes in a long box. You open that up. There's a foil packaging inside. You rip the foil open, and inside your roll of film, which is literally film backed on paper, wound up on the reel. So you would take it carefully, and then you'd pull it out, and you would twist it until there's a little arrow going across where you want the film to stop, and then close it all up, and you're ready to shoot. And you only get about, most cameras shoot 6, some shoot 12. Just depends on how big the camera is and what type of lens and stuff it's got on it. But so yeah, you don't talk about getting less and less shots. Well, yeah, that's the way it is. All right. So pop that back down. What else we got here? Ow. Here we go. This is one of my babies. This is a Rolleicord twin lens. Also a film camera, of course. Now, a twin lens are really interesting because the lens that actually shoots the picture is the bottom one. This one is the one you use for focusing, so it's a rangefinder system. So if I pop this open, let's see if I can look in there, and you can see my ceiling. And I can, well, it helps if I hit the right dial. This is the focus knob over here. And you would get that into focus. Right? And then you would, I don't think I can actually do anything because there's no film in it. But basically, then you would wind your shutter and then be ready to fire, and then you click, and then yeah, you get all your. This is super small. Your shutter speed and aperture are setting it right there, so you'd use these two dials to move them. It's very manual. There's no automatic thing about it, and you have to be very cautious of where you're lining up because there is a difference between the plane of the two lenses. This one's higher, obviously, so you try to favor a little bit down when you're shooting. And of course, you're always going to be shooting like this, like this. Anyway, you get the idea. It's a great camera, though. And there's no film in this, so you load it from here. So you would take, this is the spent reel down here. You would take the spent reel and you move it up to the top position. Then you take your new reel, you pull it up there, you pull the film around, you lock it in to this one, and then you wind it. That's basically all there is to it. And when it gets to a certain point, there's these two little red markers here. You would line the little arrows on the back of the paper there, and you're ready to go. And you got your counter here, and it says goes to 12, which it does. And that's pretty much it. One more camera. And then and this is the most interesting one. And I've only had a chance to really use it a couple times for a few different reasons. Okay. This monstrosity. Oh, these things are awesome, though. Okay. So this is what they call a Graflex camera. Now, some people might recognize the name Graflex. That's because the flash units that used to go on the side of these things are what they used to construct the lightsabers in the original Star Wars movie. Excuse me a second. Yeah. So they used these, they were like a long tube, and then they had a flash unit at the top. They just stripped the flash unit off, and that's what they used for the lightsaber. Oh my God. I remember how to open this. Ah, there we go. They have hidden buttons, right? See, this doesn't even look like a button. It's just an indentation, but that's the button, and that opens the camera. And then this is what you see when you open up. Long track. There's a lock there, and that pulls it out. Pull that into position. Oh, sorry. Pull that into position and lock it. And then you can focus it using the bellows. Back and forth. And some of these models had lenses you could change out. This one does not. Well, actually it does, but I digress. It does, but I'll never find one for it. Not for a decent price. What you do when you want to change lenses out in these things is there's two slots here that unlock, and then you literally pop this whole lens unit out. That's how you change lenses on these things. The lenses are probably really expensive. I haven't even looked, but the last time I did, they were very expensive. Anyway, so how the heck do you use this thing? Well, normally, excuse me a second, the film, and this uses sheet film. This uses 2" by 3" sheet film, 2.5" by 3.5" sheet film, I think, or 2x3. I can't remember which. I have an old box of it, but I don't know if it's any good. This is actually loaded right now. I'm going to do a test at some point, but I need trays and stuff to develop it in. Just a second here. Oh, so this one's empty. So let me set that down for a second. Now, normally what you do is in the darkroom, you'd load your film inside of this thing by slipping it up in there. and then you close it shut. And this is the dark slide, which protects it. And then there's little locks so that you don't open it by accident up there. Now, when you're using this thing, yeah, that's what you focus through. But you gotta first, oh, I had the lens cocked. So first you gotta cock the lens, which is this little guy here, cocks it. And then you open the lens. See, you can see through it. And then in the back here, I would, oh geez, and everything's backwards, by the way, and upside down. You would then look through and focus, which would look like that. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? All right. So that's what we got there. Anyway, sorry. What was I going to say? Right. So then after you get it focused, you would then pull out on the little lever and close the aperture. And then you would close up your back. And you take your pack of film, which holds two shots, one on each side. And you, geez, this thing's so hard to manage. You slide it in like that onto the back, lock it in place, and it just sort of sits in there. And then when you're ready to take your shot, which would be the front one, you would unlock that, pull out the dark slide, and this. Now this one has this little system to it. I think it works. Let's try it. Which will release the shutter on this side, hopefully. Look at that. And these would be what you would call like a press camera back in the day. And these were probably from, I don't think they're super old or anything like that. I want to say the 50s, probably, or the 40s at the earliest. This guy was made. I can't remember. I looked it up once, but I can't exactly remember what it said. Anyway, then when you're done your shot, you put your dark slide back in and you lock it. And then you would, if you want to take another shot, you'd flip it over. And then you'd load another one. But you'd have to focus every time. Now, there is a range finder on this so that you can do quick shots, but you can't do it that way. Now, the way I have been shooting this was not with these, actually. It was... I should have had this out. That's okay though, right? That's the beauty of live streaming. Oh crap. There it is. Apparently it's inside the bag, not inside the pouch. Makes sense. Oh God. Excuse me. All right. Way I have been shooting is with this thing. This is a 120 back. There's no film in it right now. And it works on the same principle. Only this one, it's got a winder. And you actually have to wind the film inside this. It's got a little counter on the top. And I think it only takes 8 shots. You load it in here. Pull this thing out, and as I recall, this thing loads ass backwards for most 120 cameras. It was a real hard thing to figure out. Anyway, now this is all cool and dandy and everything like that, but this particular accessory, even though it makes it way easier to shoot, was not designed for this particular camera. It was designed for a different model called a Speed Graphics, which had, you know, things that you literally just boop, and like stuck different backs on. That would have made it a lot easier. With this one, it kind of fits onto it. But what I have to do is focus through the viewfinder, and then I got to take out these screws, pop that part off, which just has the back plate glass on it. You can see it. Anyway, and then, oh yeah, the glass is attached to that part, right? So this whole thing comes off, and then I pop that one on, and then I got to screw it on. Only these screws don't fit onto that thing because they weren't designed for it. So I've got a little box of screws and these clips that I made for it to hold it in place. And then screw that back on, and then you can take your shot and then pop it all off, unscrew it. So you don't want to be doing this out in the middle of a live shoot, which is why I haven't used it very often. Like a shoot where you'd have to do things on very quickly. I have used it for like really thought out, meticulous sort of shots, and in the field, which is extremely fun when you're out in the middle of a field trying to shoot, and you're using this thing and you're trying not to lose little tiny screws. But hey, that's why I don't use it very often. It's beautiful, and if I can actually get this film again that'll fit these, I'm going to start shooting it. Now, I think I got a supplier lined up, but I don't know. We'll find out. So I got this really old film that came with the camera loaded in here. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Sometimes expired film works, sometimes it doesn't. It's really up in the air. You never know. So that's just a look at some of the film cameras that I like using to shoot with. I don't know if this subject really interests anyone. I just thought it'd be fun to do on a live stream instead of like a scripted video, because I never really get a chance to show off a lot of the stuff, especially things like this. Because where the hell, when am I going to be able to shoot with this? If I took this to a convention or something, I've done people with it before. Shot like I did a few shots with people before, but it was so hard to set up focus. They were a little out of focus. So, in the long run, it wasn't really worth the trouble. Whereas on my other little twin lens camera, beautiful every time. It takes perfect shots, and we just use it on that Ivani shoot I did with Niobe Comics, who's in the chat. I see you. The only person in the chat. Yeah, I mean, that's a great camera for use, and they're big negatives. You can blow them up real hard. You can blow them up really large. Anyway, now if you look behind me, my beautiful shelves here, you'll see figures and stuff like this. You'll see a couple other cameras stuff back here. Lenses. If you look way up there, you can see a couple of my Polaroids. I'm going to do a Polaroid stream sometime. I got a lot of Polaroid and instant cameras. Instant cameras are fun. Polaroid, super fun. What else can I talk about? I don't know. That's pretty much all I got today. I just wanted to go over a couple of the film cameras that I use, and I didn't get a whole lot of chance to ever show them off. I thought it'd be fun to do in a live stream. I just got set up. I got a headset, and I wanted to try it out. So that's all I got today. Thank you for watching. If you're watching later on, perfect. I hope you enjoyed the content, and I will see you next time.